moving on to video games. Uh, so a few episodes ago, we talked about how indie games push forward and advance genres that would have otherwise died on the vine if it was up to AAA developers. And recently, I've been seeing some more games that really prove that point. I sent you three trailers. The first one was
Yep.
for Thunder Ray, a Punch Out spiritual successor. Thunder Ray is an arcade boxing retro like game with blood and violence. Defeat all the best fighters in the galaxy to come. And I quote, they say this, the GOAT of the universe.
Oh, so true though.
um, yeah, it released a few months ago on all platforms. And it looks cool. You know, it's cool that I never thought we'd see anything like Punch Out anywhere ever again.
Yeah, like,
But
and
now
I'm
that
a
I
Punch
see
Out
it,
enjoyer.
yeah, now
Like,
that I see it, I'm like, this is cool. I would like more of this. Nintendo. I feel like they kind of just let some of their franchises just fall to the wayside, like F Zero and
yeah,
Punch Out. Like make a new Punch Out,
make me Punch
and
Out.
like I'm talking about a new Punch Out doesn't have to be like the old Punch Out. A new Punch Out can just be a straight up boxing game,
Yeah,
and that would be really fun.
like Punch Out Wii. That one's the best one. That one's my favorite, and it's also
Oh
free.
yeah, for sure. Make some Punch Outs that really utilize the motion controls. Um, but also there's a game called Holston
Listen, I've
that
been okay.
it looks so
I
good.
before you even sent me Holston's like trailer, I have been following this game's development for
Oh
like
wow,
months now,
really?
and
That's
I
great.
I am so excited for the full game to come out. I have never seen something so unique in
Yeah.
my entire life,
So
and it's like the okay,
yeah,
yeah,
it really evolves that old school survival horror Resident Evil type of format. So Holston is a retro inspired psychological survival horror game developed by Sonka, set in isolated 1990s Polish lakeside town. Players receive unsettling messages from a former coworker who is nowhere to be found. Players must venture into the town to not only find out the truth, but to realize the fate of their coworker. The game uses Sonka's proprietary 2XD rendering technology, allowing for real time lighting and 3D camera amongst the pixel art style. Players can also switch seamlessly between a third person perspective for shooting and a classic top down view for exploring. Holston is coming to PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, and PC, with a demo available now on Steam.
play the
Yeah,
demo. It's so good. It's
so
so good.
it's so when I saw the trailer, I was like, this looks really cool. So it's isometric view, but when you shoot, it becomes a third person shooter. But
Hmm.
it's not a fixed camera because you can actually turn the camera around the environment. And
And it's
that's
not even like
really cool.
I've watched like gameplay and played the demo a little bit myself. It's not even like a it's not like a gimmick. It's like the turning the environment around is used in puzzles and stuff. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Holston's
Like
so
like we
cool. One of the
said, indies take these genres that otherwise would have died and really push them forward because what was seen as this is what this was done and things were made like this because of the limitations of older generations of consoles is now being used and taken like okay, but what if we stuck with that format that used to be a limitation, and rather than evolving it and removing out those limitations, sticking with some of those limitations, but evolving them slightly in a way
to make
that
them
makes the tank control like they get rid of tank controls because it becomes a third person shooter when you're in combat. Keep
right.
the fixed camera, but it's not fixed technically because you can move it around. Like do little things that makes it that removes those barriers that were those restrictions, but still keep it within them at the same time. It's weird.
Right. It's like I love the advent and like the PS2 graphics renaissance, but
Oh,
the thing
you're gonna love Metal Gear Solid 2.
my biggest problem with it, especially like when it came to horror games, it was just the graphics. Like they didn't do anything fun with it. It's like if you're gonna lean into the PS2 aesthetic and the N64 aesthetic with the fog and the draw distance and the rendering and all that, do something with it. Like make it fun beyond it just looking like a PS2 game. Really play with those limitations. There's so much you can do with it, especially from a horror standpoint. It's like the uncanny like texture stretching that the PS2 did and like all those things you can use those to your advantage. There's more to making a PS2 style game than just making the graphics look like they came from the PS2. And that's like seeing games come into their own now and take those limitations and like stretch them beyond the leaf is so relieving, because I was afraid that we were going to be stuck in the PS2 like horror era forever, and it was just going to be that for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. This is more like PS1 like to me.
Yeah, but it's just
Yeah.
easiest example I can think to reach for.
But yeah,
And it also reminds me of Disco Elysium, which is really cool.
Yeah, I recently it was on the PS Plus like free games or whatever. So I have it in my library, but I haven't played it yet.
Right.
It's always a game that I was like, I'm not sure if I like it, but because it was for free, I was like, I might as well check it out.
Yeah.
But
Good
yeah,
game. I haven't finished it, but
yeah, something I hate when people say is whenever somebody says this thing looks like PS2 graphics, and I'm like, you haven't played, either you've never played a PS2 game or it's been a long time since you've played a PS2 game. Because whenever someone says something looks like a PS2 game, and I'm like, it most often looks like a PS4 game.
yeah.
They're always like, oh, this is a PS2 game. You look at it and go, bro, that very clearly looks like something that has a visual fidelity of 1080p. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
If anything, maybe sometimes it might look like a PS3 game, but more often than not, it looks like a PS4 game. You guys
like
don't know what a PS2 game looks
on
like.
Top of it.
Yeah, like you guys don't know what PS2 games look like. It's always weird when someone uses that as an insult. It's like, bruh, do you know how long ago that was? 23 years ago, 2000. That's when the PS2 came out. No game has looked like that since then. Like, chill out. But to wrap up this, talking about indie games. The Last Faith, a dark gothic fusion of Metroidvania and Souls-like. The Last Faith thrives on merciless and precise combat with a huge range of weapons, firearms, and custom executions at your disposal. Releases November 15th.
Listen,
I knew this would be up your alley because of Blasphemous.
I love Blasphemous
and Castlevania.
I love Castlevania. I love games like this game is like a love letter to me. It's like it's everything I love.
They made it for you
games.
specifically.
They made it for me specifically, and also there's a little bit of Bloodborne in there, and I love that it's like the secret spice on top, a tiny bit of Bloodborne influence. I love it.
That gothic
and I'm
horror.
going to get this game. Yes, I'm getting this game launch day. Like this is
for sure. You're gonna have to tell me about it. You're gonna have to tell me about this.
It was my first time ever hearing about it, and I'm like, the first 10 seconds of the trailer, I'm like, this is a game for me. They made this game.
I forget when, but I saw the trailer, and then I watched like a gameplay video, and then the one I sent it to you before, but I sent it to you again yesterday just to get a refresher. And like that was the most recent trailer, and I was just like, this game looks so good.
It's like that Junji Ito bit where it's like, this is my hole, it was made for me, that's this for me. And when I get it, I'm playing it. I'm probably gonna beat the whole thing in one sitting because good lord, still need to beat Blasphemous though.
I still need to beat Blasphemous and get Blasphemous too. I got so far, but then I was just like, I need to take a break, but I'll get into it eventually. Right now, we're gonna get into it in a second, but Spider-Man 2 comes out on Friday. Ooh, I'm so excited. I'm gonna be talking about that so much because
so real.
We'll get to it. Let me not pull a Cyberpunk.
Yeah.